Hey everyone, it's Luke here. I am a data guy by day, amateur poker player by night, and I'm documenting my journey from $100 to $10,000 for online no limit Holdem poker. Uh, I want to document this for a few reasons. One, I want to see if it's still possible for a non-pro to do this. Doug Polk did it. He documented all the way from $100 to 10,000, but like he's already dominated the entire world in poker, so. The question is like, can anybody learn to play poker and learn to beat the small stakes? Second is the reason why I want to document this is like they all do their poker learning and education videos online, but I find a lot of them take super long and they're not teaching you the brass tacks of how to get better. A lot of the time it's kind of gratuitous in its length. And so what I want to do is just show you key wins. So I'll never post a video that isn't a first place win. And I'm also going to share the key things that I'm learning along the way. And this is like shortcuts for you if you guys want to learn poker as well, which is I'm going to share from a amateur's perspective as I learn and as I get better, the things that are actually working. So this is an empirical process, and like so you'll be able to see also the proof of it. Like so far I haven't been like earlier I hadn't been dominating that small stakes. Now I'm kind of at that level where I can consistently win, and my account is growing because of that. So I'll just be sharing my progress. This video is I'm just going to share the latest tips and tricks. The things that are really starting to work for me for like less than $12 buy-ins for no limit hold'em tournaments. I play on 888 poker, and I'm just going to share those tricks. And then after, I'm going to post a video. After this, I'll make another video, and I'm going to share my latest, something like $400 win for an $8.80 buy-in. I won the tournament and got 400 something dollars. And I'm just going to show the key hands from that win. So I think that's very educational. Like, you know something's going right if you win the whole tournament, and I'll just be discussing those key moments and I'll be mapping that to some of the things that I'll share right now, which is some of my key learnings. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna show my screen and we'll go through key learnings. All right, $12 and lower. Respect position way more. So even in these small buy-in tournaments, people understand position. Any less than ace queen offsuit, ace 10 suited, or 8-8 when I'm under the gun, I will fold. Uh, Most people are like that. They might be a little looser than that, but like say you've got ace jack or 10-10 on the button, and somebody from under the gun min raises, so they put in two big blinds. Just call it. You don't have to raise with those good hands. They probably got something just as good. So that's one way you can protect yourself, is not trying to battle against guys from early position who are raising. And if you don't know this terminology about seats, like under the gun, what is under the gun? Let's just go down. I'll show you the seats quickly. So it starts with the button, cut off, middle position, that's the high jack, now low jack. And then to the left it goes small blind, big blind, under the gun, +1, +2. So feel free to pause that and take a note there. Okay, respect multi-way pots way more. So if there's two people in the pot, you gotta be careful. Study as much as you play. Like poker is a lot of fun, but it's a lot of fun to mop up tournaments as well. Check out some charts. You'll learn a lot about the holes in your game when you look at charts. And there's different charts for so many different situations. So go download some online. You'll find them. And you'll learn like the value of a pair, or like when should you 3-bet. Bluff small on the river. You'd be surprised how many pots you can take down even when you got just air. Now, if you got some low pair, you might want to just check the river because they've probably got nothing. And nobody better than you is going to fold that, that bet. So if you got a small pair, you can just check, but you could bluff on the river small. Do some more callings, like if you've got draws or small pairs. People are going to bluff, especially on the continuation bet. Like if they lead and then they bet. If they're the one that starts the betting and then the flop comes, they can keep betting. You want to call a little more, probably, if you're like starting out. you'll tend to want to fold like kind of decent hands, but you should hang around. Call a small bet on the flop. Call a small bet on the turn. See what you get. See if your hand improves. You might be able to turn it into a bluff, or you might hit something. Or he'll slow down and just check to the river, and you're better than him in the end. Okay, check raise with your best draws. So like, let's say you got the nut flush draw or the like open and a straight draw with like 2 overcards or something, and your best hands like 2 pair or better. Do some check raising on those. But not worse. Like those are the best hands for check raising. By the way, all this stuff is not necessarily authoritative. I'm just telling you what I'm learning, and I do think I'm seeing that it's working. And you'll see as well while we document this journey that it works. Or if I learn later that this stuff doesn't work, I'll let you know. Or if you want to like comment that you disagree, I'd love to get that dialogue going. I'm by no means the authority, but I will become authoritative the more this journey evolves and the more we document. You'll see the kind of the change start to happen. Bet your trips on the flop, and then keep betting. Like you might want to trap with those, but like it's better to win a little than lose a lot. Risky calls. At the end of a tournament, you're gonna have to call some risky spots, some uncomfortable spots. So like you'll be facing the best players at the end. Very few of the donkeys are still in the tournament. So they're gonna jam on you and they'll be bluffing. If you've got 15 big blinds, you might have to call all in with like a decent high pair, something like that. C-bet. You should almost always C-bet. I mean, if the flop comes very textured and like all diamonds or something, then maybe you can slow down. But the C-bet is quite helpful. Now, if he's got a way better range advantage, so you might want to slow down too. Like, what's the range advantage? If the guy in the big blind just calls you, your min raise bet pre-flop, then he's got a lot more low cards than you. So if it comes 6, 7, 8, and he's betting, you might want to be afraid of that. You can get out with your, Jack King or whatever. You might want to call one bet and then fold the turn. You might want to check that flop. So I'd probably still bet with my Jack King 2 overcards. But maybe if I had Ace 5 suited, I might slow that down. Well, actually 5, 6, 7, 8. Anyway, my point is, think about the range advantage. I don't know too much about this range advantage, by the way. But you got to know that the guy just defending the big blind is got way lower cards probably than you, who's raising from early position. All right. Oh, you can defend a ton of hands too. If somebody min raises from early position, so let's go down to the seats so that you can follow this easily. Say somebody min raises from the low jack seat right here, so they make it 2 big blinds, and you're in the big blind here. Everybody else folds, and you got a decision to put in 1 more big blind to see the flop. I mean, you can call with like a 5-10 suited, seriously, or like a 7-8, 5-8. I don't know, 5-8. That's starting to get iffy, but like you can call a lot of hands. And by the way, if you've got 10 big blinds or less, and you call and you defend like that, or maybe 12 big blinds or less or something, and you hit anything, or you hit some kind of gut shot straight draw, you might want to consider jamming all your chips in at that point. Jam pretty light. Don't be afraid to put your money in the middle when you got 10 big blinds. You gotta get that fold equity. Fold equity is the probability that they'll fold and you'll take the money. All right, respect the re-raise. These players do not re-raise with a polarized range. The more advanced players, I'm seeing these videos about polarized ranges. So what's a polarized range? It's like this. The blue highlights are like hands you'd always raise with, and I'm just using a random example. This isn't a very like specific chart that you want to reference, but like just to explain what is a polarized range. The very advanced players will bet with their good cards, and they won't bet with their medium cards, but they'll throw in a few of these lower ones to also bet with, so that you're afraid of their bets, but sometimes they're gonna have like kind of the lower ones, so the stuff that isn't quite good enough to call. That's a polarized range. So, but these like, donkeys in the $12 and lower tournaments, they don't have that polarized range. If they're re-raising you, you might want to be afraid and consider laying down good hands. That's one of the leaks in my game, not being willing to lay down good hands enough. So I go back and I look and I see that I'm losing a lot of big blinds when I hold on to good hands too long. Tempt them to bluff. So let's say you've got a good top paired hand. You're going toward the turn and the river. You're not going to get better hands to fold by betting on the turn and betting on the river, right? So there's no help in that situation. Now, obviously, betting on the turn and betting on the river, you'll get some slightly worser hands to call you, but like they might only call you once. But what might happen against a small stack, like 15 big blinds, you check the turn, you might check the river, they'll be tempted to donk off all their chips to you if you check that river. So just be aware that sometimes checking can make you more money than betting your sort of mediocre hands. Okay. Stack the early fishes with lighter hands. What does that mean? Early in the tournament, there's a lot of people ready to just donate all their money on like marginal hands. I think they just want to try to get a lead early and maybe rebuy. So just profit off that. You'll make tons of big blinds. Like we measure the big blinds with this Holdem Manager 3 every day. Like today, I just was earning 30 big blinds on average per 100 hands. And you can see I'm barely ever in the red. And since December, so like the past 3 months, I'm making 10 big blinds per 100 on average. Jonathan Little says if you make 7 or more, you basically beat the field. So like today I was making 30 big blinds per 100. And if you're stacking people early in the tournament, you'll like win a lot of big blinds and set yourself up for a good rest of your tournament. So if you've got ace, like the best kind of ace or better, consider just jamming all your money in against them or calling all in. You wouldn't do that later in the tournament, just calling all in like with 40 big blinds or 500 big blinds, like. But these people early in the tournament are ready to stack off all their chips to you, so take advantage. Stay till the add-on. There's a lot of people that kind of they start to realize, oh, if I buy in now, I'm only getting 10 big blinds, but they leave a lot of money on the table, and then everybody who stays till the add-on and then does the add-on. Like what is the add-on? If you've played these tournaments that have one, they give you an option to add chips at a certain point, and then you can't rebuy. Well, stay till the add-on and then add your chips, and there's tons of money in the pot for people who lost heart and left. So this is a much more profitable tournament for you who's willing to stay than those guys who gave up. You might want to 3-bet a little more, like with your pairs and your ace-5. And like blockers are good for the 3-bet too. Like an ace or a king, let's say the cutoff bets you, min raises right here, and you've got like ace-5 offsuit, you can 3-bet the guy. You should know good 3-bet ranges. Jonathan Little does a good no bet sizes. So like there's like a formula. So like you want to, if you're 3-betting, bet like 3x somebody. But the more people in the pot, add 1. So like plus 1 for each player. And 3x, that's 3 times their bet. Plus 1 if you're out of position. You want to bet more if you're out of position than when you're in position. So if you're in the small blind or the big blind and you're betting against these guys, you need to bet more generally than if you were in position. So let's take an example with this bet sizes. So 3x, right? So let's say under the gun, let's use a better example. Low jack, min raises to 2 big blinds. Everyone folds, you're on the button, you can make it 6. What if this guy calls? Then you gotta make it 7. What if this guy calls? Then make it 8. Okay, so it's like that. Or what if you're out of position against them, you're in the small blind, then make it 9. Like this guy bets, this guy calls, you make it 9 times the 9 big blinds. So this guy made it 2 big blinds. This guy calls 2, and you're making it 9 big blinds. You might be tempted to You might be tempted to just min raise with your aces. Like ace ace. Just like somebody bets, should I just add a tiny little bit more to get more money in the pot? No, you should bet that 3x size because you want them to make big mistakes. If you're not helping them make big mistakes, but they're helping you make big mistakes when they get the aces, then you're gonna be behind. You're gonna lose the tournament. So that's why you wanna, when you got good hands, get more money in the pot. They'll make mistakes and they'll they'll make mistakes. There's a situation with this where you can just limp with ace ace or king king. Let's say you're on the button or the cutoff or like any position a lot of the time, and you've got aces or kings, but you've got 15 big blinds or 20 big blinds only. Maybe it's late in the tournament. They might jam on you. So let's say middle position, you just limp, you put one big blind in, and you got aces, and then everybody folds around to the big blind. He might be tempted to jam on you with a bluff and just steal your big blind, but that's where you're actually cat trapping him. So but when you got a lot more big blinds, don't limp with your aces. I would bet with aces because like you want to get money in the pot with your good hands, and you want them to re-raise you. Think in terms of big blinds. Number 17. Don't just jam all your chips in the middle with ace jack with 20 big blinds from the cutoff. Ace jack from the cutoff with 20 big blinds. Don't just jam all your chips. Just do like a min raise, and maybe like somebody with 10 big blinds will re-jam on you and you can call him. Or if like two big stacks are all in against each other after that, you can get out. You can get out with your ace jack. So that's why you got to think in terms of big blinds. How many big blinds am I risking? Honestly, if I had ace queen and 40 big blinds, I'm not even going to call all in with ace queen with 40 big blinds. More like 20, more like 15. So anyway, there's a couple examples here that you can read if you want to pause the video. Don't be too in love with your big hands. You can spend a lot of money that way. Don't chase gut shot straight draws. Ace X suited is better than I realized, like ace 5 suited. You got the straight possibilities and the nut flush possibilities. Pocket pairs are better than I realized, so I'm like, adding these more into my ranges and betting or 3-betting with them. Ace X or pairs, you can limp with the ace X suited or any pocket pair, which is just putting the one big blind in from early position. If somebody raises, you can fold, or you can see a flop and maybe hit your set. That's called set mining, and maybe you'll hit your flush or the nut flush draw. Consider how it plays out, number 23. So what does that mean? If I bet a certain amount on the turn, how big will the pot be in relation to their stack size? So this is important because once they're pot committed, you can't bluff them off the pot. Like if they've only got 30% of the pot left over in their hand by the time the river comes, no matter what they have, they're going to call you. And so you can't bluff at that point. So if you got nothing at that point, you're going to have to check it. And then there's another reason, which is a pot size bet, which also commits them to all their chips, is a very scary thing. Even if they've got like a decent pair, even like a decent top pair, they're thinking my tournament life is on the line. So you're giving them a very hard decision. So that's how you want to consider how the stack sizes are going to be comparing as you go and go. Maybe you'll bet less on the turn so that you can jam with a full pot size on the river that puts them all in. You got to think like that. Don't be afraid to jam all your chips in against smaller stacks when you got your marginal hands. Like what's a marginal made hand, like Jonathan Little says? It's like a top pair with a decent kicker, mid pair with an open and a straight draw, stuff like that. Absolutely don't be afraid to jam on the flop against these smaller stacks and just take the pot down. You won't lose everything because you've got a bigger stack than them, and you're like 80% of the time better than them. Leading on the turn. How do you lead on the turn? Jonathan Little did a great video on this, but here's a few situations. What is leading on the turn, first of all? It's when he bets, you call before the flop. He bets after the flop. You check. He bets after the flop. You call. And leading is now when the turn card comes, then you bet first. So you're basically taking control, saying, I've got the best hand now. So here's a few. This is actually a very profitable thing. Jonathan Little did another video on this. He's like one of the guys I follow the most, so I'll cite his stuff all the time. Also Doug Polk I follow, who recently won an incredible grudge match against Daniel Negreanu heads up for like 1,000,000.2. You hit mid pair on the flop, you check call, you turn a gut shot straight draw. Your hand improves. You should lead. You might hit on the river. He may not have anything. He's seeing the straights come lower. Also, you hit nothing on the flop, but you've got 2 overcards. Check call, and then like low-handed cards, low-carded hands improve. Like some straights happen, some pair happens, like some pair of 4s comes or whatever. They'll think you might have trips. All you did was call before, now you're racing. So if your hand or your range improves, which like your range is the lower cards when you're defending from the big blind, right? Then you can lead on the turn. So those are some tips. I hope you enjoy these tips and these videos. Just like or subscribe if you do, and you're gonna watch while we take down the small stakes and go up the ranks and turn 110,000. So stay with me, and I'll talk to y'all later.